Hi, guys. I am so excited about today's show, and I have a guest, and I don't know if you're familiar with her channel, but she's fantastic. So, this is Angel from My Real Life Budget. Hi, Angel.
Hi
How are you?
everyone. I'm good. Thank you for having me, Debbie. I'm
Oh my gosh, I'm so
excited.
excited. We were talking about Dave Ramsey's Baby Steps and how we differ a little bit here and there from them. And so I was like, oh my gosh, we have to, like, it was her suggestion to do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you have to come on my channel. We got to do this live. I'm like, let's open up the discussion. So
Yes,
before we get started, Angel, do you want to talk to people about your channel and what you do?
sure. So I document my debt-free journey on YouTube. I
Mhm.
started back in February of 2019. I've been in debt since I'm like 18 years old, got out of debt once for about a 6-month period, and now I'm like really trying to find that balance. So that's basically what my channel is all about, is just documenting that journey. So if that sounds interesting to you, head on over and click subscribe.
Oh, and I'll leave a link to her channel down below. And
Thank
I thought it was so gutsy of you and to actually put how much you make, like your actual income. And I love the way you break it down. And
you.
I was like, wow, like that takes a lot of guts to put all that information out on your channel. So
Oh,
I was hooked. On the first video I saw, I binge watched her channel today. And I was like, oh my gosh, you did this, you did this. And she just finally paid off her first credit card. I was like, I got emotional when I saw that video, Angel. I really did.
I had to I glued some fake eyelashes on for that video and I'm like, oh, they're gonna fall off. I need to get my act together.
At one point, she goes, she's like, I'm gonna stop real quick because I feel like I'm gonna get emotional. I'm like, oh, you're not like me. You don't just start bawling on YouTube. Twice. It's happened to me twice. It's like finances are so like personal,
Yeah,
they
they
really
are.
are personal. Like I've cried not only on my channel, but like after we paid off each debt, and it's just it really takes a lot to get there. So when I watched your
Hard
channel, when I
work.
watched that video, I got emotional. I was like, I know what that feels like. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I wanted to break down the baby steps because I know like we just assume everyone probably is familiar with Dave Ramsey,
Mhm.
who first of all, like I wanted to say, like, we're not here to bash him. Like we
Right.
think, like, I mean, we do the baby steps kind of ish, right?
Mhm.
And but some people just aren't familiar with Dave Ramsey at all. Can you see the comments, Angel?
Yes,
You can?
I see Joel and Christy. Hey.
Yes. Hi guys. Oh
Hey,
my gosh, and Jan's
Wanda,
here.
Joanne.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Joel and Christy. Christy, I hope you're feeling better. She took a bad fall.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
Yes. Okay, Caden's here. Hi, Kate. Oh, and Wanda. Oh my gosh. We have such great people that show up here. Oh, Tony Ann and Granny Prepper. Hi guys.
Hi, Granny Pepper. I love that name.
Yay. So I guess we'll start with baby step number one.
Yes.
So baby step number one is to come up with $1,000 of an emergency fund.
Yes.
So how do you feel about that? Like, where do
Well,
you stand on that?
so it's good and I think it's bad. It's good because when I first learned about that,
Mm-hmm.
having just savings in general was like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
So it really taught me to have something there if something happens. And where I'd always go wrong was my car maintenance, like brakes, inspection, tires. I would never have money for that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So building the emergency fund for $1,000 I thought was great. But then when I
Mm-hmm.
lost my job, I realized $1,000 doesn't get you very far. So now I have 1 month. Well, I did have 1 month of expenses in my emergency fund, but I took some of that out to pay off card number one.
Yeah.
So now I'm throughout March and April, I'm gonna be working to build that back up to just
I
1 month.
When you said that, I was like, as soon as you said, like, I'm just right there, like, I'm just gonna take a little bit out of my emergency fund and then I'll build it back up. I was like, so smart, so smart.
Yeah.
If you're that close, just kill it, just get
Yeah.
that thing over with, right? Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I'm a little bit of like a research geek when especially when I'm gonna do my lives because I love coming up with like facts that kind of stick in people's heads a little bit. So baby step number one, Dave Ramsey came up with it in 1992. Have you heard this?
I have not, but I know he's been around for some time. I just, didn't know
Yeah.
the line.
So of course, like, me thinking, okay, well, if he was saying $1,000 in 1992, I went and I Googled an inflation calculator online and
Smart.
I put in 1992, $1,000. So the calculation came up with a few pennies short of $1,800. But
Mm,
so, which would equal 1 month of expenses, kind of like what you're saying, which I
right.
think is a great idea, by the way, because he says like when an emergency happens, like when you lost your job, you're supposed to stop everything, right? Like you're not supposed to continue, or you're supposed to like, eat up your savings and just to survive. But even though like in 1992 he was saying $1,000, I kind of thought like it's interesting that now it'd be 1,800, but he still sticks to his $1,000 of an emergency
like
fund.
it's not updated after the time.
Sometimes I feel like I have my notes here if you see me looking down. Sometimes I feel like he says things like to motivate people, because I know like back when I started accumulating my credit card debt many moons ago, and it was just it was something where I thought back then I could just charge it, and back then $1,000 to me would have been like a huge obstacle to do, right?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes he says $1,000 so that people like that feel like it's an achievable goal kind of get motivated to keep going.
Yeah.
But I agree with you though. I think 1 month of funds set aside is such a smart idea. I really do.
Yeah, you just never know what might happen.
I know, and a lot of emergencies that happen here at the house are more than $1,000, unfortunately.
Oh yeah. I know. One of my friends' dishwashers went, and that was like, how expensive a dishwasher can be. Like that would be an emergency fund right there, depending on the brand,
Oh, absolutely. So this is one that I'm like, ooh, okay. Baby step number 2 is to pay off all your debt except your mortgage, right? Yeah. So he doesn't believe in a credit score. So what he says, before we even start talking about the actual debt, he doesn't believe in a credit score. He believes that your credit score should be, I don't know what the term is. It's not zero. It's like kind of like it's like zero, but not zero. He says something about that. Like it's supposed to be at a like, I think it's like not available or something like that. Like there's like a term like when you don't use credit at all after a long time.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. So, but for me, I'm like, I wanted to pay off my credit, my debt, because but I did want to increase my credit score, because my kids sooner or later they're gonna need some kind of help to go to college, and maybe it's like, how they say like, you learn from where you came from. So my parents never even knew what a credit card existed. Like they didn't even know what one looked like. I'm like, I can show you. But, so when it came time for me to go to college, they didn't have anything saved up for me, which is fine, because they did the best they could. I'm not criticizing them, but they didn't have anything set aside for me, and they didn't have a credit score, so they can even try to help me get a loan or anything. And I had like a $5 an hour job, in the summer. So I'm like $5 an hour is not going to get you into college.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So for me, it's important because I have a 16 and a 15-year-old. And also my little 6-year-old, but she's luckily in first grade. But like, so they're going to be going to college soon, and I want to have a good credit score. Not that I'm going to take out a loan for them or anything like that, but I'd like to have that option, because I want them to do better than I did educationally. You know what I mean?
Yes. And I think for me, it was kind of the opposite. My dad was very, very frugal, very good with his money. He definitely he had investments, he was set. And my mom, she was the one who kind of introduced me to credit score and how important it was to have a good credit score. And I didn't really know though that balance of like, at one time I would think my credit limit was like disposable income. That's how I treated it. And it's not my parents' fault for not teaching me these things. They both tried the best that they could. I was just one of those stubborn kids who like had to do it their way, and that was it.
Yeah.
So
I have one of those.
Well, we're a lot of fun. I always had a really good credit score. That was the thing. I had a 777 credit score before I lost my job, and then it tanked down to like a 526. But I had so much debt that I'm like, how is my credit good? And I have all this debt, but like I made my payments, my utilization at that time wasn't extremely high. But then like once I lost my job and was using them just for like basic necessities and things like that, that's when it really took a dip, and I like missed some payments and stuff like that. So I think it's just good. I'm so happy to see so many budgeters on YouTube just kind of getting that message out there, because 10 years ago, if I would have found that on YouTube, I think it would have helped me back then, but I'm grateful for now because, you know, there's a rhyme and a reason to all of it and the timing and all of that. So, but yeah, I do think credit score is important. Like you said, with kids going to college, I was lucky that my dad helped me with my first degree. But then when I branched out to wanting to do nursing and I dropped out twice, that was all on me. So I took loans out for that. I tried to finish my bachelor's and never did that because it was just like adding up more and more debt. And I was like, I cannot make this financial commitment.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that's the reality. That's how you're going to go to college, is by getting a student loan or something like that. So I do think it is important to have a good credit score.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. So, before we get into like how he always wants, you know, the second baby step to get out of debt is he also wants you to pay for cash for everything or use a debit card.
Yes.
So I know we talked about that.
Well, when I get cash in my hand, it's like it burns this magic hole in my pocket. I can't hold on to it. So for me, cash is just it's not king for me. I do better with like an electronic debit card. The credit cards I need to know how much I have, what I can spend, and with a credit limit, right? It's like, oh, I know if I go over, it's like a safety net almost, but it's not the best way to look at it. But that's how I would look at it is I'd go into Walmart and I'd say I have $60. But I have my credit card. And then there I'd go, you know, going over that $60 just because I knew, you know, I was treating that credit card like a disposable income. So I think for me, it was really just like learning boundaries. And even to this day, like I could get cash and I just feel this need to spend it. So I know like everyone's different with that. So I think it's best for however you are. Like if you can identify if you have an issue with cash or an issue with a card, you could pick that out and then go with what works best for you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I shared a few weeks ago, I had Rochelle, you know, Rochelle, right?
Yes.
I saw you reference her in one of your videos. I was like, oh my gosh, a fellow Rochelle lover.
Yes.
She's awesome.
She is.
So we were talking a few weeks ago on my live about identity theft. And the reason why I'm talking about that now is because they tried to break into my checking account, which freaked me out because that's the same account that I have, you know, like our paychecks going in.
Yeah.
And when I called the bank, because I saw what happened was I was going to balance my checkbook and I saw a transaction that said through the ATM card and it said a zero amount. I said Amazon, and I know that my Amazon is with one credit card, you know, so it's I don't use my debit card for anything, you know, even though it's you know, it's got the Visa logo on it. Like I don't use it for anything other than taking money out of the machine. So as soon as I saw that, I freaked. Like my heart was here. Like I felt like I couldn't breathe. I call up the bank and they couldn't have been nicer. They put me through to the fraud department. And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh my gosh. The rep told me, like, you know, you caught it right on time, because they always either go with a zero or they'll go with like a penny or 2 cents to see if the card is active. So I said to her, I'm like, I've never given out my debit card to anybody, you know, and I've never used it online for anything. I'm like, how did this happen? And she said, well, it could have been one of those two things if you do that, or it could have been someone randomly, like just putting in numbers and magically, you know, my debit card hit. That is an active account.
You said it's Amazon. I've actually heard about a scam going on that people are calling people and saying, hey, we had an issue with your recent order on your Amazon Prime or whatever. And then they ask to verify all the information, including payment method on file. So just all of you guys out there watching, be careful if that happens. Definitely like don't give them any information and just look on your Amazon on your orders and verify that through their customer service chat. Don't make any phone calls, because that's not like Amazon to do something like that.
Yeah. And so like, so, you know, they stopped it right away, and, you know, the second transaction never hit, but someone was trying to set up an Amazon account using my debit card. I mean, could you imagine like what the luck it is to like go and start putting in numbers and come up with mine? I'm like, yeah, thanks. I'm like, look at me. So it freaked me out. But anyway, so that's why for me, I don't use my debit card for anything, you know, any kind of shopping. And nowadays, honestly, because I have a 6-year-old who has severe asthma, like we don't go into the stores. Like if anyone that sees my grocery hauls, they know I use Walmart. So it's grocery delivery. And so like what I do is I do use credit cards. I'm credit card debt free. Thank God.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for you. I can't wait for you to say the same thing. I'm telling you, you're going to pause that camera for a half hour to cry.
Yeah.
One day. Every time I say it, I light up, Angel. Like, did you see that? I'm like, I'm credit card debt free. Oh my gosh. But what I do is I budget exactly how much I'm going to spend on groceries. And then I stick to that budget or lower. I always try to go in lower. And so the money is in my budget already. And that's the only time I use my credit cards. So that whole thing about cash right now, it's not really doable, in the circumstances that we live in now. And at least hopefully not for long. And then the debit card for me, I'm like, after what happened to me, I was like, no, so in that aspect, I do use credit cards, but again, it's only when it's in my budget. So that's the little caveat to that.
Yeah, definitely. Like one day when I get to that point where I know where I'll have that self-control, I'd love to be able to do that, but I'm just not there yet. And that's okay.
No. And that's why it's personal finance, because it's personal and everybody's different. Like for me, I'm very regimented. Like, my husband and I are very regimented now. And we got, as he says, gazelle and cents, and we went without, like, we really went without. I didn't go out with my friends. Like, I mean, if it was someone's birthday, I wasn't going to say no, I love my friends, but for the most part, like, we really cut back as much as we possibly could. And as soon as Emily was out of daycare, that was money that we just threw at it, because we already knew what it was like to be without it. And daycare is so expensive in New Jersey.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Daycare is so expensive.
It is. So once we got that out, I couldn't wait. I had to count that in my head for like August 31st. It's like, the money's going to be going to debt. But before we go forward, I just wanted to look at the comments real quick.
Oh, yes.
We're getting such great comments here. I was just looking over while you were talking. Let me see.
Oh, thank you, Kate.
Oh, isn't she so sweet? My gosh, she's awesome. Here, let me click on that. So she says she's going to go over. Oh, she subscribed to you. I tell you, everybody should go over and subscribe to Angel's channel. She's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah, no problem. And then Wanda says they check your credit for everything: insurance, renting, utilities, mortgage, and so on. I mean, in circumstances like that, like Wanda's so right. Like in circumstances like that, like how can you not try to preserve your credit?
Yeah.
We actually just this past weekend, I was paying the mortgage, and I got this email from them saying, like, we can refinance your mortgage and get you at a lower rate because the rates are so low now. And so I called them up and we went through the process, and I'm not extending the mortgage at all, which is so awesome. It's literally staying the exact same way it is now. And we're saving $42,000 at the end of the mortgage by doing that. But by doing absolutely nothing, you know what I mean? Like my payments are still going to be the same. Like I'm not adding a day to the mortgage, because I didn't want to take, we're 10 years in. So I was not going to take the 20 years and extend it to 30.
Longer,
I'm like, you can keep your 1%.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. But if it wasn't because of the credit score, like we would never even had that option. $42,000, it's huge. That's a salary,
Yeah, that's the situation I'm in now. I can't refinance for a lower rate because of my credit being so poor right now. I probably can't even get a credit card if I wanted to right now with that. So like, it's really important to make sure you're maintaining that score, making sure you're making those payments on time, and just avoiding debt at all costs if you can.
It's funny because I brought debt into our marriage, and I know I've talked about that before. And my husband had the perfect credit score.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the application, and I was getting, I'm always talkative. So I was talking to the rep, and I was like, I'm so excited. Like, we're going to, we're going to save all this money and this and that, like, and he's like, yeah, you're a budgeter. I'm like, I know. I don't know. And in talking to him, he goes, well, I want to let you know your score is 5 points higher than your husband's.
Wow.
I was like, awesome. Are you serious? As soon as I hung up that call, went down, I'm like, hey, honey.
That's amazing, though. Oh my gosh, the growth.
Yeah. No, it does happen. Like, and it wasn't anything extra I did. I didn't apply to anything else. Like, I kept the ones I had, and it's just what happens. So, oh my gosh. Well, so now talking about baby step 2, right? he encourages using that Snowball, and I talked about this in a live a few weeks ago as well, and I'm linking them all down below. So the debt Snowball, just to let people know in case they don't know, is you list debts from smallest to largest, and you pay your minimum payments on all the other ones except for the first one, the one on top, the smallest one, and that's the one you throw everything at. And then once you pay that off, it keeps going and going, like a snowball. So how do you feel about that? Is that what you're doing?
Well, that is what I thought I started doing, but I realized I was actually unintentionally doing the debt avalanche method. However, when I got out of debt the first time back when I was like 19 or 20, however old I was, I used the snowball method. And it worked for me. And I liked it because it made me feel like I was achieving goals quicker, even though I was paying more money over the long run. That feeling of like, okay, we're building momentum. That was a good feeling for me to feel like I was making progress relatively quickly versus, if you have a larger debt with a larger interest, it's going to take a little bit more time to pay that off.
For people that don't know what the avalanche method is that Angel's talking about, it's the opposite. It's the highest interest to the lowest interest, so that you throw everything at the highest interest and you pay the minimum payments on the rest, and then once that's paid off, then you move to the next one and the next one. So it's more like an avalanche.
Right.
I did a little bit of both because my husband and I, we were so geared up on, we love Dave Ramsey's methods overall. We really do. And, and so we're like, we're going to do the snowball, and I listed everything. And then I had that one credit card and the interest was so high. I'm like, if I put that forth, like, there's no way, like, even if I start paying off the other ones, it doesn't make sense because the debt that I'm paying off, the smaller ones to get to that one is I'm accumulating that in interest.
Yeah.
So we flipped it. We put that horrible credit card. I really hate that one.
Yeah, I know how it feels.
Oh my God, that's why when I was watching your video and you're like, I got it, I made it. I was like, oh, I know what that feels like. Oh my gosh. So as soon as we killed that one, I did a dance for 3 days. Then we did the snowball on the rest, and then you really get and I can see why he recommends it, because you do feel momentum as you go along.
Yeah.
You know, but if you have something that's high interest, like that's one of the reasons why Angel and I are doing this show today, is because like we want to just let you know, like, there are other ways of still sticking to a plan, but formulating it so it suits you, what's best for you and your circumstances, because everyone's different. Like we were just talking before, like Angel's more like, she likes to shop. Like I don't like to shop, like, so to me, I'm more regimented. Sometimes I wish I did shop because my girlfriends have like the best clothes, like not name brand, but when we go out, I'm the one that's at that before everything happened, I'm the one that's like, oh God, I don't have a dress, like I have to go shopping. They're like, oh, I have a whole closet full of dresses. I'm like, no, not me.
She's got you covered on dresses, Debbie.
I still remember it was the day before one of my good friends, her boyfriend was throwing her this big lavish party, and like everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna get my nails done, I'm gonna get my hair done, and I'm not gonna go someplace and get that done, but I was still shopping for 3 days because I couldn't find a dress that was like appropriate for the occasion,
Yes.
and that was on sale. So,
oh, even better.
Sorry, I can't.
Love a good sale.
Like, if it's not on sale, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm very much,
I can see for me, I haven't shifted fully, but there's a shift taking place. Like there's a mental shift, and it's been years, like a year, not a year, years in the making, just to kind of like, do that self-reflection for myself. And that's just me. Like we keep saying, everyone's journey is different, but for me, I definitely needed that, like I need this process right now to get through to the other side. That's what I keep saying.
Absolutely. And it takes so long, and then things pop up, and then it slows you down, and then you just have to keep going. So absolutely.
Keep going. That's what I keep saying. Just keep going.
Yep. So baby step number 2, it's so you pay off all your debt except your mortgage. And so now baby step number 3 is to accumulate 3 to 6 months of expenses, like as a bigger emergency fund.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that?
Great. I agree with that. And to keep, pay everything and keep your mortgage. I think that's pretty attainable for most people. And to then build that 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Once you're debt free and once you're just paying that mortgage payment, you have so much more disposable income that you can then throw towards that emergency fund and make different investments, which we'll talk about later on, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a great baby step. I don't really have anything that I don't agree with that one.
With me, again, deviating a little bit from it, I actually, and that was like, like when you're when you're married, like, there's a give and take when it comes to budgets, right? And I always say, like, I tell everyone, I've said it on my channel like a million times, like, my husband's the one that got me more regimented, and he got me more on course, and let's get that free, and he's fantastic. The one baby step that him and I had like a little bit of friction on, and I gave in because he gives into so much, when it comes to me. I mean, married me with my debt, 2 kids. I'm like, I owe you. But my thing was, like, I couldn't wait to get out of this baby step. And but in his job, he's in IT. So it actually takes 8 months to find an employment if, God forbid, he lost his job.
Yes. Oh wow.
So he's like, honey, like, like, I really, like, he was so, like, he felt so strongly about it. I was like, all right, it took us 2 years. It might as well have taken us 10. Like, I really felt like, getting out of the consumer debt was, it took us 2 years, and those 2 years felt like 4. But I'm telling you, the emergency fund, oh my God, like, it
felt like forever.
I'm like 8 months. Like, what is this? Like 6 years we're doing this?
Oh wow.
And then that's when things started going wrong. Like, like the washing machine went, and we had to replace that. And then, we were so close. I had to make a video on that because I had a water pipe in the bathroom downstairs that burst.
Oh no.
And it took out our bathroom and our basement. And that was 5 months of arguing with the home insurance, and then we had to put it out of pocket until we finally got that settled. And then of course, like, you never get back to where you were. Like, you put out a lot more than you get from that insurance. So that was a setback. I was like, at that point, I looked at him, I was like, can we do 6 months? He's like, come on, we're so close. I'm like, all right.
Oh wow.
So we did 8, unfortunately. Like that we did.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's good. Like, coming from when I lost my job, like that moment and those 3 months, it was 3 months till I got the job I have now. I remember being like, what are we gonna do? And then, like, we found out we were pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do? So
and you found out how expensive kids are.
Oh yeah. And I've been so blessed by everyone in my life that have, like, given me clothes and bought him toys and things and diapers, that we really didn't have to spend a whole lot for when he arrived. But yeah, like, if you're not breastfeeding, formula, that's really expensive. Are you going to qualify for WIC? There's, like, so many things you have to think of. So I definitely think, like, at least 3 to 6 months.
Absolutely. Yeah. So are you looking at the comments? Do you see a familiar name?
Hey Becky, what's up?
Becky, we were talking about, like, great financial channels before we started, and she mentioned you, and I'm like, I know Becky. Like, so if anyone isn't familiar with Becky, please go check out her channel. She's awesome.
She is.
Hey, you're better late than never, right? Absolutely. Let me see her real quick. The Long Run with Joel and Christy. I'm not a shopper either, Debbie. You should have seen me trying to find a mother of the room dress. Oh my gosh. And it's such pressure. And plus, I'm sorry, but dress shopping, you might as well go bathing suit shopping. Like, unless you have, like, a model body, I'm just like, oh God, no.
Debbie, I'm like a size 4 and it's still hard. I'm like, really? What's trending? Like, I don't even care. I don't, like, for me at this point, I don't even care how I look. I'm like, is my boys taken care of? The dogs are fed. And I'm like, if I'm in sweats, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the birthday girl that who we were going to celebrate, and it was a place in New York. I mean, this place, I couldn't have been more out of place, but we had an amazing time because it was so fancy and so elegant, and it was to the 9, and there I am. I'm like, but she texts me and she's like, you haven't found the dress yet. Where are you? And I'm not going to mention the store because I like the store. And she was like, old people shop there. Like, where do I go? Like, what do I do?
Yeah, now and then nowadays too, like with online, it looks cute, right? But then you order it and you get it there and you're like, I don't even know how to put it on.
I don't like shopping for clothes online. I really don't, because in my head I'm either bigger or smaller than I am, and then I get there and I'm like, I say to my daughter, like, you want it?
Yeah, or like you get it in and it's totally different than what you expected.
Absolutely. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I clicked on the wrong one. They're having a conversation between themselves. It's so funny. I
love that. We have
my gosh,
community. If I can't wear leggings, I ain't going. Yes, Becky.
So the next baby step is 15% of your income into investments. So okay. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
So I think it's definitely good to invest, but like I think it's unique to the individual, because if someone, just say for instance for me, when I was jobless, didn't even know how I was going to pay bills, I probably shouldn't have been investing, but I was still sending $25 a month to an annuity that I had because it gets a 4% return. Yeah. And that's like really good nowadays. So, and even now I still pay that $25 a month just to like be in that routine of paying that every single month, that as I pay off debt, then I can increase more and maybe look into different investments. So I think that investing on a debt-free journey, it's totally up to that individual, their situation, their circumstance, and what their future plans are too, because not everybody wants to retire early. Not everybody wants to have a family. Not everybody, some people want to travel their whole young lives and then go live a very simple life where that maybe they won't need to do something like that. So it's really like up to the individual, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. My thing on this is, Dave Ramsey says, like, you don't do anything. You stop retirement. You stop everything. You stop contributing to anything for the kids or anything until you get to those specific baby steps, because he wants you to throw everything in the kitchen sink at the $1,000 emergency fund, paying off that 3 to 6 months of expenses. For us, it didn't work out that way, because up until I'm going to say 2 years ago, our employer was actually doing a 3% match into our 401k. And my husband and I, we work at the same firm. So for us to not contribute 3%, even when we were paying off debt, is, first of all, 3% before taxes isn't a lot. It really isn't a lot. I mean, every cent matters. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But you don't really see much of a difference in your pay from after taxes. At least for us. And I watch every cent. So if I say that, it's true.
Yes.
I'm like, it's probably like $20, I think, is what the difference was. But so 3% for him and I. So during all the baby steps, we definitely did that because we wanted to take advantage of the 3% a year, 3% match a year.
That's something I still put into my 401k, and I'm glad you brought that up, because when I lost my jobs, I had 2 401ks from previous jobs that I ended up pulling the money out completely, and like that was how we got by, was off that money. So you don't want to have to do that, but if you're in that situation and you have it, it's awesome. Like, I'm so thankful that I did put into my 401ks when I did. And I'm thankful that I'm able to now, because like you said, it's like $26 a paycheck, which isn't even, not even a big deal.
Absolutely. And like what you just said about taking money out of the 401k, I call that survival mode. Like when I was going through my divorce and we didn't have enough money coming in, and it was my paycheck, and I was in a house I couldn't afford with 2 little kids, smiling during the day, making sure that they're okay. And then at night, like crying because like, how am I going to do this? Those years, like I was putting money, I was putting our groceries on credit cards, and then paying the minimum balances on them. I like freaked out one day because one credit card that I had that had a high, that had a large amount of money that I could use, they cut my balance in half because my credit like dropped. Wow. And now that was $5,000 like out the window that I couldn't rely on when things were that horrible, So it's like, when there's anything financial, if you lose your job, if you're going through a divorce, if all of a sudden you can't afford the house you live in for any reason whatsoever, you know, medical reason or anything, like that's survival mode, you know,
Yeah.
and that gets you deeper in the quicksand debt. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I was suffocating, but at the same time, you have to get by. So what are you
Yeah,
gonna do? So you're
exactly.
lucky you have those the 401ks that you can go into.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the other thing that I did to deviate from it too was, like I mentioned before, I have two teenagers who eat like four. But and so my daughter is a year away from starting college, and my son's 2 years away from starting. So we started as soon as we made that last debt payment, and we still had to go into the emergency, you know, start building the emergency fund from scratch. We opened up 529 plans for them, and
Yeah.
we weren't putting a lot in there, you know, we really weren't, but we wanted to have something for the last few years build up, so that when they are going to go to college, hopefully between grants, scholarships, you know,
Mhm.
financial aid, and then what we have for them at that moment, and have it built up with, you know, with interest as well, by the time that they're going to go, they'd have something, which is more than what I had and more than what my husband had too, because he was in
Yeah.
the same spot as I was.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought that up because, you know, not just for like education purposes, but just that contributing to like a 401k or an IRA, some type of retirement plan,
Mhm.
the longer you wait, the less you're going to end up having when that time comes. So that's why I don't think it's the worst thing to do while you're still
Mhm.
on a debt-free journey, because you're still making that investment into your future. Because for some people like me, my
Mhm.
journey might take me a lot longer than someone who's really, you know, like you, gonna buckle down and just get it done. Because
Mhm.
I need some lessons, you know, I have to learn
Yeah,
things.
yeah, and
So,
that's one of the things. Like, guys, like you really go check out her channel if you're not familiar with her. Angel's fantastic. Like, I really got engrossed. I did like a little like binge watching of her channel for the last few days, because, like, you know, like I said, like everyone's different. Like that's why it's personal finance. Like everyone's different. Like my husband and I, we were like soldiers, like tackling it down. But you know, I love seeing someone else's perspective. Like I like the one of your shows, you said like, if I'm gonna eat Chinese food and I want Chinese food, like I'm gonna get Chinese food. I was like, that's right,
yep.
you get that Chinese food.
Yep.
You know, it's like, yeah, you need something. You need, sometimes you need to breathe. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes you do need to be able to just take something for yourself. You know, so that's why it's personal, and that's why we're all different, and that's why I love watching other people's financial channels, because I feel like you take a little bit from everyone too, you
Yeah.
know. So I love Dave Ramsey's method overall, like I really do. Like I've read the money Total Money Makeover. Have you
Mhm.
read that?
I have not. No, everything I found
Mhm.
out about it, I found out online through YouTubers.
Mhm. We were driving to Virginia. It was the last vacation we did before we started tackling everything down, and
Mhm.
I got it on audio. So the kids were sleeping in the back. I had it in there, and we drove for 8 hours, and we listened to the whole thing, and
Wow.
it really got us like ready. Like I think he's really smart, but it's, some of the methodology of him saying like, no, it has to be this way.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it
You gotta
can't. Like
do
I'm not
something
gonna look at my
to
kids and say
that.
like, I'm sorry, like I don't have anything for you.
Yeah,
You know, so
I totally get that, and, that's awesome that you guys listen to it together, by the way. I think that you have
I,
a really amazing husband.
thank you. No, he's the one that got me into really like looking at numbers and budgeting, and
Yeah.
you know, and then it was funny when I told him, like, you know, like after we paid off debt, and I told him I want to start a YouTube channel, like I want to help other people be able to do this as well. Like he's like, really? I was like, I know, you rubbed off on me. Like,
I think that's awesome, though, because, like, I just wish that I wish I found them earlier, YouTube
Mhm.
channels that
Yeah.
documenting this kind of stuff, because for so long, Debbie, I felt like I was the only one going through this. I'm like, I felt like stupid and ashamed and like, how could I let
Mhm.
myself be like this? But then when you really look at it, so many of us are in similar situations, just like trying to get by and trying to make
Absolutely.
better choices to get to better places in the future. So
Yeah,
we just have such
absolutely.
a great community. Y'all are great.
Oh my gosh, they're awesome. Let's go to some comments here. So we're doing
Oh,
this.
hey, I see Candace. Cool Blue. Thank you for coming.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. Let me click on that here. Oh, that's really nice. A nice name of a channel. Hi.
Yes, I love
Welcome.
her. Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
goodness.
She's so real.
Oh my goodness. Oh, and I don't want to mispronounce. Simplify. Simplifier. Oh my gosh, I need glasses. I have them here, but if I put them on, like
I have them, and I'm still like,
yeah. Oh, just retired last month at 62. I wish I had started investing in my 401k and Roth IRA at a greater percentage and sooner. I'm finally debt free, except my mortgage. Good for you.
yes, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. But I mean, that's such a great message. I tell my kids all the time, like my teenagers, because like I have one that loves to save, and then I have one that loves to spend. And every time she gets her allowance, she's like, oh, like, she loves Amazon. I'm like, please, like, do you not listen to what I'm saying to you?
Just like me and my brother. My brother is the saver, and
I'm like, I have one. And then the other day she said to me that she thinks she's a minimalist. I'm like,
oh my gosh, she's like my soul sister.
I was like, Google minimalist and tell me if you really think that's what you are. Like I told my husband, he doubled over. I'm like, yeah, she's a minimalist. I don't think so. No. And so baby step number 5 is to contribute to the kids' college. So again, that's why like we had to do it a lot earlier, because we're and now you're supposed to do, that's one thing that people get confused. So you're supposed to start contributing to your retirement accounts, right? Baby step 4, 15% of your income, which I that's where we are now. We're doing 4, 5, and 6, which you're supposed to do at the same time. So you're supposed to contribute 15% of your income to retirement, contribute to the kids' 401k, and then and pay off the house. Right. So that's why now I called up this weekend about refinancing. So for me though, it's like 15% of what you bring in, but I'm like, okay, but the 401k gets done beforehand. So some people say to include it, and some people say don't include it. But I want to have enough money to start throwing more at our mortgage, you know, and for the kids' college contributions as well. So that's the one thing. And then baby step number 7 is to build wealth. Like, how do you feel about those last few? I know you have a little one, so you have some time to go before you're thinking about college.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think about, my dad. My dad passed in 2019 in April.
Sorry.
Thank you. He was really sick, so it was like we were kind of not expecting it, but it was almost like a relief, like he's not suffering anymore. But he was very, very financially savvy, and we are still 2 years later going through his assets and trying to get everything situated. COVID completely like just derailed and lengthened the process. But he left stuff for both my brother and I, and that I remember, like, when I charged I charged this vacation for my mom and my brother and my boyfriend after my dad passed, just because I wanted to have something good for us to look forward to, and I knew he had left some money for us, and I had no idea that it was going to be such a process and so long. I thought, I'll just pay everything off and it'll be fine. But when I think of like what my dad did for us to set us up like that, I want to do that for my son. I never want him to have to worry. I never want him to have to think like, where am I going to live? How am I going to go to school? Anything like that. So like my focus is making sure once I get myself in a good place, I get him in a good place. So we've already started saving for him. Just put like $10 each a month away right now. And then as he gets older, and as the debt pays off, we're going to increase that. But we're definitely going to look into the 529 plan, because you said that when we were talking earlier, you can actually use that for things that other than just college. Is that right?
Yes, you can. And that's what I like more about it. And also because I have 3 kids, you're able to actually move it. Like if one of them decides not to go to college, like it's not just stuck there and I lose it, we can actually roll it over to one of the other kids. So
okay, yeah, so that's like flexible. That's what I liked. I wasn't sure, honestly. I really didn't even look into saving for him at this point. Just with where I'm at, it's like really overwhelming, when you're looking and crunching numbers and you're like, God, I'm never gonna get there. But I like that flexibility to be able to use it for something else, because maybe he doesn't want to go to school when he gets older. Maybe he wants to start a business, or who knows, But I wanted to be there for him when he decides.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My son, he's very mechanical. Like anything that has to do with like, like building something, like putting something, like making something fit, he's all about it. I was like, you don't have to go to college if you don't want to. Like I don't ever want them to feel like they have to.
Yeah.
If I want them to be happy. Like that's what I want. I want them to do something that they actually enjoy, waking up every morning and doing what they do, and if anything that we can do to help them out along the way. What your dad did was fantastic. Like
Yeah.
if I can go back in time and make 10 million decisions different, and maybe meet my husband a little earlier, so he would have set me right. Like, we'd be in such a better place, I mean, things happen for a reason, but that's amazing. And I'm sorry again for your loss. That's so sad.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. But it's been like a process, just like the grief of it all. But at the end of the day, like, he's here right now. I feel him with me. He's all good. And
watching you succeed and paying off that first credit card, he's probably
going, he's okay and on your way.
Oh my gosh. Well, again, like Angel, her channel's amazing and it's so motivating. And I know she says like, it takes like it's going slow, but she's getting there. Like she already paid off the first credit card and she's getting there and she's getting, and she's documenting everything. And it's so honest. Like that's one of the things that really drew me into your channel. I tell you, like I watched like 8 videos and I didn't even realize like I watched 8 videos in a row. I was like, wow, like what you're doing is great. The way that you're honest about everything is fantastic. I really enjoyed your content, and I really hope that everyone goes and checks you out as well.
Thank you. I just really hope that if there's anyone out there now or in the future who is watching, who finds my channel, who is in a position similar or worse, like I just want to give people hope that if I can do this, anyone can do this. Because like, I didn't even believe in myself. I don't even think I believed in myself when I started the channel, but it took like, having this awesome community of support, because the budgeting community is
they're the best.
Like,
they're the best. They're the best. They really are. They're so motivating and so positive, and we have so many of them here watching, which is so great.
Yes, thank you guys for tuning in.
Yes, no, absolutely. Let me just see. Oh, Lisa Miller's here, and Tony.
Hi, Lisa. Hi,
Tony. Tony Ann. Tony Ann's awesome. I love her comments.
Aww.
So if anyone has any questions for Angel, if you guys want to ask them now before I let her go. And thank you so much again for coming on. Yes, and anyone watching on replay that has any questions for her, if you want to leave it in the comments down below, I'll make sure they get to her and I'm sure she'll answer you. But I hope everyone goes and checks you out, honestly. Like I'm so glad we got in touch, because it's you offer such a different perspective. For me, we tackled it, but before that I was in such a horrible place, what I mean, financially, and emotionally too. Going through a divorce is something, no matter if you want it to happen or you don't, like it's emotionally tolling enough. But to also be like sinking in debt as you do it, and then trying to do everything you best for your little ones. And it was just I that day that they cut that credit card in half, that balance, to me it was devastating, because I'm like, how am I going to financially survive? I never in my life thought I'd be where I am now. Not in a million years.
That's the message, right? That's like what I hope one day I can show with my channel too, is that like,
we should do
light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh my gosh, no! Like what we should do is, once you're there, like we should do this again.
Yes. Oh my gosh! Well, I keep telling my one friend Anna, Cafe with Anna, if you guys have not found her channel, she does budgeting and planning. I keep telling her we're going to Punta Cana. When I pay off this debt, we're just going to have a Punta Cana debt payoff party, because
you get to show off those pretty dresses that you have. All right. So I see like doesn't seem like everyone has questions. I love how they're talking to each other as they're listening to us.
Yes,
they're awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Angel, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciated this, and I enjoyed your perspective on everything.
Thank you. I enjoyed it myself. My first live.
Yay! And you did great. Can you guys believe it's her first live? I was like, oh my gosh, no, this is awesome. Oh my goodness. So again, I do lives 7 o'clock every Tuesday, and I drop a video every Saturday morning. And what's your schedule, so people know, Angel?
I post every Tuesday, and I'm trying to get back into my Tuesday, Thursday schedule, usually around 6:30. But today I did it early so that we can have this just.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, thank you again, Angel, and thank you guys for watching, either here live. You guys are awesome. I love seeing all your comments pop
Yeah.
up. And if you're watching on replay, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time, right? At Angel's channel or mine.
Yes, we'll see you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.